Hello, everyone. I am Samore, your host, and the fellas are here for another episode of SJH Mancave. We are live on Facebook and looking forward to another fantastic conversation. If you're watching this on Facebook, please make sure that you hit that like button and share the discussion. You can also follow us at SJH Podcast Family. If you're watching us on YouTube, remember that you can see this and other videos at SJH Man Cave. Once you're there, please tap the subscribe button and hit the bell to make sure you are alerted when new videos are available. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at SJH Man Cave and email us at info@sjhmancave.com. And with all that being said, let's dive right in. And Hudson, I think we'll start with you. How was your week, brother?
You know, I think every guy has had this like thing go on before, and I think it's time we start to come together and put a stop to it. So I'm going out the back door, and my wife she's sitting in that area, right? And I just want to take out the garbage. I'm going to take out the garbage, at her request, mind you. Now you take out that garbage, you open that door, right? And all of a sudden, just you gotta close that door. It's a cold air coming in. I'd be like you see me struggling with like 8 bags of garbage. I'm trying to sneak out the door and get out of there. And I just can't help but look up like, really? You could just help me with the door, and this stuff kind of happens like frequently. Like I'm coming in with groceries. I'm coming in the front door now, and she right there in the living room. And as soon as I open that door, I start to bring in groceries. You gotta close that door. It's cold. It's too much cold coming in. I'm like, to help me pull some of these in, and we can close this door faster. mean, you know,
And everything will be all right.
I mean, and I don't mind pulling in the groceries. That's fine with me. But like, understand that I'm pulling in bags and bags. I'm trying to get this stuff in. Don't be hassling me about the door. You know, just sit back, do your knitting or your crocheting or whatever it is that
Yeah.
you women folk do in your free time. I don't know, but do that, child rearing. I don't know what y'all do. Just do it while I bring these groceries in and I close the door. I just don't understand it. So, that's always interesting. But the worst part is when it happened like first thing in the morning. So like I'm going to take out the trash first thing in the morning. And so when it come up first thing in the morning, I'll be like, okay, I see what kind of day this is going to be. Because, it starts a pattern off right there. Like, and you got to put it into it right there. Like, look here, don't start giving me little tiny orders like this. Okay. I'm going to get the garbage out and I'm going to close the door when I close it. But that's kind of been my deal for the week. I'm just saying. I mean, am I wrong? Do y'all not go through this too?
Usually, when I'm taking the trash out and I get yelled at, it's because my wife is definitely afraid of bugs. Now, I tried to explain to her that it's only 40, maybe 35 degrees outside early in the morning because I'm taking it out about 7:30. There are no bugs, hon. Bugs are gone. It's not happening anymore. Nothing's flying around just waiting to come in our house because it's warm. It's over with, and there's no more bugs. But according to her, something's going to come flying in. She don't know what it's going to be. She mostly thinks the cicadas still walking around here, still doing what it is they doing. And then she has this thing about like if a bug gets in there or gets in here, then either I'm going to either have to call off from work or I'm going to have to come home from work and come and kill it. And I've done my best to try to let her know that's probably not going to happen. So either you leave it to its own devices and let it do what it's doing, and I'll take care of it when I get home. Just keep an eye on it. Otherwise, there's no reason I have to close the door so fast. It's okay. No way. I'm the one taking out the trash. So I tell you what, you want that door closed, why don't you go ahead and take the trash down that one land into the garbage can? Which I really don't understand why nobody else is doing other than me. So I'm like, why am I waking up at 7:30 to catch this trash man when either my son is sitting on the couch on his iPad, my daughter's over here on the computer, and she over there on her laptop sleep. So, like, why ain't nobody take this trash out? Y'all don't hear that big ass garbage truck out back? we need to get this trash out. Otherwise, the can gonna be full for the next couple of days. And don't let it be Friday. If it's Friday, the cans is gonna be full. And I haven't figured out why we make so much trash in my house. I'm barely here, so I don't really understand. Like, it's mostly them making the trash. So I'm like, at least y'all could do is at least take out the trash before the garbage man come on Friday, because we're not gonna see him again until Monday.
You make the
I literally
trash,
wake up
take the
and like,
trash.
I'm sure you run into that one, Hudson, when you walk in the door and the trash can is literally like this trash falling out the can, and they were waiting on you to come and take care of it. It's like, so and they literally, like, as I walk in the door, like, one of them be like, "Hi, Dad," or something right on top of the trash can, trying to balance it. So take that bag out and take the trash out. It's been like this all day. That's how y'all feel. So yeah,
I literally went to bed and it was an empty trash can, and I woke up to it full of tail. And I'm sitting there like, who the hell is getting up in the middle of the night throwing shit in that trash can? I literally had that
so this
problem.
it is.
Like, were
Oh,
we
you ain't know.
saving
It's
it?
just like last time we talked about it. That's your wife probably. I was like, you know what? I'm about to go clean out that refrigerator, but she
Yeah.
couldn't wake you up. You just stayed asleep. So she went, well, fine. I'll go do it then and leave that trash for you in the morning.
You know what gets me
So
about it
I
though?
mean,
It's the obviousness of it. Like, it's the yes, I know I got to close the door. I mean, I'm not just gonna whoosh, door wide open. Let's let all this air come in. I mean, I'm gonna close it when I can close it. And if you see me like struggling with 20 bags wrapped around my wrist trying to drag them out the door, I mean, maybe
have
you
some
can just
have a
close
little
the door
empathy.
behind me.
I'm in a little better situation. Uh, for the most part, actually, both my wife and I will take out the trash. Whoever sees that full trash bag hanging off the knob when we leave out, we'll go ahead and grab it and throw it in the garbage. That's not a problem.
Ooh, that must
But
be nice.
it is nice. It is nice. It is nice. And we're always very appreciative towards each other when we throw out the trash. So, she's done it, I'll be like, hey, thank you, dear. I appreciate you doing that. And if I'm the one who's done it, she'll be like, oh, thank you. I'm glad the trash isn't here anymore. So
As I
that
clutch my
worked.
pearls. Ooh.
that that part of it works very well. But the difference is that when Samantha sees the full trash bag there, she'll just pick up the bag and just go out and just dump it. Whereas if I'm taking out the trash, then I want all the loose trash out the house. So I'll take the bag and then I'll do a quick walkthrough and pick up some around the crib to make sure that, hey, all the trash that's in the crib is going to go out all in one sweep. So she'll take it out and they'll be like, full garbage in the bathroom and stuff like that. I'll be thinking to myself, I won't say anything because I know that's going to go nowhere. But I just be thinking to myself, why didn't you take this with you when you went? But I've just learned, we all do things differently, and I'm usually going to make that extra step. She
Oh
won't. It's
no,
okay.
see, I'm
It's
I'm the
okay.
opposite. All that trash need to be in one place when I'm ready to take it out. Now you want it out, you better
I
pull
think
that
that's the way she
trash from
feels.
upstairs and bring it on over there. I'm not going to 8 different places to get trash. I'm gonna just take what's right there. I'm taking it out. Or else I'm gonna keep that door open longer. We'll open that door and then I'm gonna grab it out.
Wow. 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 So, for me, it's been interesting. I guess the subject is going to just keep coming up. So, my daughter is in her third, maybe fourth week of school. And I absolutely love this daycare center. It's been absolutely awesome. And one of the main reasons that it's awesome is because they have an app. With this whole social distancing thing, they needed to add some technology to keep as little contact as possible. So they have a check in and check out app and things of that nature. And they use this app to tell me when my daughter has taken a potty, what they fed her for that day, like basically give me all the day to day rundown, right? Which is actually kind of cool. But what I really, really love about it is they take pictures and video of my daughter during the day while she's there. So it's not a ton. It's not like 20 pictures at the end of the day or anything like that. But if they see like special moments that they feel like me and Samantha might want to see and would enjoy, they'll go ahead, take a picture and put it on the app. And then we can look at it and decide if we want to download it to our phone. So the past couple of weeks, they've had little dance sessions where they've had the kids, jumping around and dancing and all that. And Simone has been absolutely loving it. So now we have, a video of her doing these types of things. And for us, it's really cool because, of course, we're used to having Simone here every day, but we don't have very many opportunities to have Simone interacting with other young kids. Especially with COVID, we haven't really had that opportunity to let all the kids kind of be together and see how she interacts with them. So to have that live video confirmation of she is getting along with them, they do seem to like her. She is able to, adjust to being out amongst people without any real issues. That's been a huge, huge comfort for both of us. And then just to see her continue to grow and develop and flex social muscles that she hasn't had to before. It's just awesome. And we can already see even when she comes back home, she's getting more responsive. She's learning more phrases. There's slowly but surely a little bit more back and forth and not her just repeating what's been told to her. So I don't know. It's just all awesome to me. I really, really love the entire process of being a father and being a part of our life. And so being able to witness more of that and have more of that available, it just works for me. So
So
what is it, Jason?
I was just gonna say, man, I'm gonna need the address to the daycare center because I'm gonna post up out back. I'm gonna post out front or something. Because it's been so many. It's been so long since I've been able to see Simone. It's my little
Mhm.
Susie Q. The way you describe and knowing who her parents are, knowing your mindset and Sam's mindset, I think she running drugs out that daycare center. She probably running the cash. And she come home telling,
Yo,
"Ooh, that guy's not blah blah blah." Yeah, she out there making moves. That's what she doing. She got the keys, son.
you know what's funny? Well, so the teachers, if they have like, they'll send you special compliments through the app if they feel like your kid has done something really awesome. And a couple of days ago, one of the teachers was like, Simone always seems to have already figured out what our schedule is for doing things, and she moves on to the next part of the day before she's asked to. Like
Mhm,
she just knows how this all is supposed to work, and,
mhm,
and makes it really smooth for us to
mhm,
get her from one place to another. I love
mhm.
it. She's already adapted and mapping things out. So, this is how this operation runs.
Yeah, that's how you know too. She the one came up with the whole app situation. All right, we need to send something cute to my mom and daddy so they don't get no idea about what I got going on here and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But you make sure we stay on this key cutting schedule so we get this
Right.
joint out and make this money.
Absolutely.
That sounds
Absolutely.
like a nice way of them saying that she bossing them around is what it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she telling them what to do.
Hey,
You know,
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. They said she's really, really chill until about 4 o'clock. We have to pick her up at any time before 6. They said by around 4, she starts looking around and asking where her daddy and mommy is.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. She's cool. Cool as a cucumber. There's no problems. So I'm just really happy. I know this could have went a completely different way. So to see it for the most part seem like a positive phase for her, I'm really happy about that. And of course, then you just move on to the next thing that you worry about. And so now I'm worried about what happens when we have to pull her up out of here and take her to a real regular school out, out in the jungle. So we'll see how that is.
It'll
See how
take a minute. She'll be running the joint too. Be all right. She just got to get. She just got to get to know her customers a little bit better. The people that's working up on the list, you got to get them in play. She gonna have a couple of them try to go for the head from time to time. You know how they like to come for the boss. She go take care of it. Don't you worry about it.
You know,
I'm looking forward to it. I'm
I'm
looking
definitely
forward to it.
I'm definitely happy that she's using more phrases and interacting. That's pretty awesome. You know, because I got kind of the opposite going on here with my youngest. So, it's
Uh-oh.
the worst thing is to know you have a child right there who can use words, who knows the words, and you've heard them say the words, and now they refuse to use the words. So instead of
Mhm.
instead of telling me that she ready to eat, she just gonna do this shriek, yell at me to get my attention and tell me I better get some food
Mhm.
going and shovel it in her mouth. And I just don't appreciate that kind of activity going on in my house. You know, Today she decided that she wasn't gonna let us know that she did a boo boo, a boom boom, and a diaper, and we had to, and we walking around sniffing the air like, what the hell going on? Was that you? What's that? And we like you just weren't gonna tell us, huh? You just gonna let us blame each other. you know, we
Hey.
we blaming each other. We blaming the oldest. Say excuse me next time. We do all that. Oh, it was you. It was you. Like come on, Dad. So I'm hoping, like I see it, like I see that she know the words and she'll use them when she got to.
Mhm.
Probably if she somewhere else, like if she were to go to grandma's house, I bet you she used those words. But over here, nope, nope. I say, can you say why? She say, adoy doy doy, adoy doy doy. I'm like, come on now, you you know why, you know eat, you know all of that. Why you got to do this? And she'll look at me and just start busting up laughing. Doy doy doy. Yeah, I'm like, come on. This how you go treat me the next
Nice.
6 months, I bet. So
She's like, yeah,
Oh,
you thought I was gonna say something real cute, didn't you, Daddy? Thought I was gonna repeat what you said, didn't you? No, dog. No, I say what I want to say. I do what I
right.
want to do.
It's
You
not
want
going down like that.
you want to know about boom boom? Just sniff this air. You gonna know. You gonna know what's up. Probably do it, sit there, look at you, wait for it. Like,
yep,
yeah, yeah, that's
yep,
me.
she do. Yep.
Ooh, that sounds just like her daddy, Jack. Sound-
That's awesome.
that's just a little Hudson over there, Jack, with some bow hair. That's all that is.
What about you, Jason? How's your week been?
The week's been slow and steady. Boring as all hell. 2 weeks ago, I uh I realized I don't want to take my kids to the doctor anymore. Not that I don't want to be like like I don't want to be one of the fathers that don't get their kids the injections. I say give them all to them. Give them all to them right now, so I ain't got to come back here for a while. So Jada and Junior had Jada had her little 6-year old or sixth grade shots and stuff. We had to get them now because of the COVID. Obviously, and everything's all backed up. And Junior had to get a flu shot and some other stuff. Wasn't a whole lot. So they went in. They went in and saw the doctor, their pediatrician and stuff. And we've been seeing this lady since Jada was actually since Junior was born. We picked this lady, and she has a real good rapport with the kids and stuff. She knows them, they know her. And this particular time, her mother, their mother went to the doctor with us. So I had the opportunity to sit out in the waiting room while she went back and handled things. But when it came down to the nitty gritty, when it came time for shots, her mama come running out the back room talking about, you need to go in there with your kids. Like, for real? Like,
Yo, kids.
right. I'm like, I don't even know where they at. Oh, just go through that door, go to the first room on the right. I'm like, okay, that's all right. I guess this is my job. So I got to sit here and I got to watch my kids, and they stare at me every time it happens. So this is just my deal. So I get back in this back room, And Jada and Junior sitting back there. They're like, yeah, they about to come in and give us our shots. I'm like, all right, what the doctor tell you? But the doctor basically said they fat. So, they get it honest. They need to stop eating as much, and Corona's and got stuff all messed up. So we got to get them a little more active and stuff like that. So I say, okay, that's fine. That sounds about right. Then we got to make appointments with nutritionists and all this other good stuff. So the nurse comes in with the shots. So Jada's got to get 5. Yeah, she got to take 5 of them to the head. Now, Jada ain't a problem. Jada cool. And what was tripped out is the nurse. The nurse was, I call her a gangster because she was real tripped out. So the first 3 shots, Jada got, they was real cool. And she hit her in the arm. She barely even noticed they happened. But as she came out with, I think it was a flu shot, and then I think she had to get a tetanus shot. And them tetanus shots is the ones that stick in your arm for a while. So this lady, the first 3 needles she pulled out and they gave her these shots and whatnot. They were little small little needles. Wasn't nothing to them, little quick prick. But these last 2, I swear to God, I thought this lady pulled a couple swords out her pocket or something like that. I'm like, why the needle so long? Oh my God. But Jada didn't see him when she pulled them out. And I'm looking right at him like, ooh, this gonna be ugly. So just as the lady got halfway into her arm with one of these long ass needles, she was like, oh yeah, just to let you know, these next 2 ain't gonna feel real good. But she was already in her arm. I'm like, oh, that's bogus.
What kind of bedside manner is that?
This lady was just trying to get stuff over when she get off out of her business. Like she had about 8 more kids she had to shoot up or something. I swear to God, he hit Jada's shoulder and just kept going. I was just like, wow. And even Jada kind of sat up like, So she got
Damn.
through them 2. She looked at her shoulder. She looked at me. She looked at the lady. And was just like, am I done? Got out there, sat next to me. And then it came Junior's turn.
and he squared up. He showed how a man does it. He showed, he showed her grit and determination.
Let me
Made
tell
you
y'all
proud,
something.
Mr. Johnson.
Let me tell y'all something about my son. And I blame this on myself. I work 6 days a week, and I'm only off one day. I don't get to spend a whole lot of time with my son, unfortunately. And I leave him here with 2 women. So
and it shows.
some of the stuff is just starting to graft onto him, and I really don't like it. I'm gonna have to quit one of these jobs or something. Me and my son gonna have to go do something. We got to go to a football game. We got to go to a boxing match or something. He got to watch some wrestling. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Maybe take him with you to the range, let him watch you shoot for a little while.
I might just have to. So he gets up on this table, and the lady's like, "All right, he's got 2 shots he's got to get." And so she's trying to get him to lift up his arm, and he's steady squirming like, look, can we? So what you got to do? And the lady she showed him the needles, and the needles was real small, and she's like, "You're not even gonna know I'm gonna do it." So she did something to make the boy look one other way, and she hit him real quick. And he turned back around, was like, "All right, so you gonna give me the shot?" She's like, "Shit, I'm done." And he's
Oh,
like,
nice.
"Oh." He says, "Oh, no, okay, well that wasn't nothing." So he was real tough, right? That wasn't nothing, Dad. But the problem is now we got to go upstairs because both of them have to get blood drawn.
Ooh.
Right. So
Ooh.
we walk on upstairs. They like, we can go home, Dad. I'm like, no, son, we got to go up because they got to draw some of your blood. And his reaction to it was, you think I would have told him they got to cut his arm off to get the blood out of him or something? Because he got this real big look of concern in his eyes, like, oh my God, what? It's gonna be all right, son. So we go upstairs. I check him in. We sitting outside on this little bench. Now it's another little kid in here getting his blood drawn. He couldn't have been no more than maybe about 1-2 years old. Shorty was in there losing his mind. You would have thought they was actually cutting him open. And Julia's sitting there listening to him the whole time, just crying. And I'm like, oh, damn. And I know if Shorty would have been up there, I'd be like, look, we'll just come back or something. Like, see, swear to God. Shorty, I don't know what they did, but they had him in there for about 10 minutes and he screamed the whole time. So I'm
Wow.
like, okay, I'm sitting there trying to comfort my son. Like, don't trip, son. It's just a little baby in there. That's why he's so upset. It's going to be all right. His sister trying to calm him down, and he is unconsolable. Here they come. Jason and Jada, call us right in. That boy got up off the chair like he was about to go to the executioner's chair or something like that. We walked in. Now Jada walk on in. She go on in. They pulled the curtain. All I see is Jada get nervous, and when she starts kicking her feet when she sits in chairs. So as we walk by, I see her feet kind of kicking, but she cool. I ain't got to worry about her. Jada all good. I get my son into this room with this nurse. First of all, he's scared to even sit in the chair. Like, what are we doing here? What am I doing? This is what he's saying. His exact words. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't understand what's happening. I just need to know what's happening. And I'm like, boy, sit down in the chair. So the nurse started talking to him like, look, I'm not even doing nothing to you. Just calm down. I'm gonna tell you what's going on. We're gonna go through it. He's like, okay, so we're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk for a little bit. He's like, yeah, we'll do that. All the while she like rolling up his sleeve. And all he losing it every time he touched her. Every time she touched him. Didn't even show him what she was gonna put in him yet. So I'm sitting there trying to calm him down. I'm like, Junior, just look at me. Look me in my eyes. Don't worry about. He can't stop focusing on what this lady doing. He looking at his arm. He looking at her. What you finna do? What's about to happen? We sat there for about 5-10 minutes, and he just got to yelling and screaming. I just want to talk. I just want to talk. I don't understand what's happening. I'm like, I said, oh my God. We've been talking for 10 minutes, son. We got to get this over with. After 10 minutes, another nurse came out of nowhere and was like, sir, I need you to move. And I'm like, what's about to happen? We do this every day. Let me take care of this. Lady walked in, sat on Junior, grabbed his arm, while the other lady put the needle in his arm. Yeah. He got the needle in his arm. He stopped looking at it because he was fighting the whole time. My son is very strong. It tripped me out. I couldn't own it. He sat on that boy, got that thing in his arm. He stopped and he looked at it. It obviously didn't hurt because he just stopped and looked and was like, oh, that's it? Oh, okay. I'm calming. His exact words were, okay, I'm calming down now. I'm calming down. Watch me steady taking this
Yo!
This lady she see, that's all you're gonna do? Yeah. She took one vial of this little Negro's blood, and that was it. Gave him about 18 stickers. He sat there wanting to talk afterwards. Like, these people don't want to talk to you no more. Bring your ass on. All that mess you just put these people through. Oh my God.
Yo!
I don't want to go back to the doctor anymore.
First off, I'm mad. I'm mad that he walked in there and he was like, "Wait a minute, what's going on? There's this chair here. I don't understand what she's doing here. What's happening? What is this chair doing here? I just want to talk." Okay, we cool.
I just want to talk. Can we just talk for a minute? That's all he kept saying. I'm like, Billy, we're not talking no more. Come on, get this needle. Let's go. I'm ready to go home. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Let's go.
Oh wow.
What a guy, man.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I gotta say though, if I was your kid, and I guess they didn't see your reaction. Like if I was your kid and I saw your reaction to those 2 long needles they took out, talk about some whoa. I'd be like, why is my dad looking like that? Whoa. That would have got me. I guess.
When Jada was trying to be cool, she was looking off at some pictures or something when she hit her with the first 3. She's like, yeah, I got this ain't nothing. And that second one went in, and that's when she's like, yeah, these 2 gonna hurt. I'm like, lady, you already in her arm.
It's too late. It's too late to prepare.
Oh my God. Yeah, I say, "Ooh, I'm glad I ain't getting no shots today." Woo,
Sometimes
I
the
can take
timing
that
be a
ball
little
over to
off
my heart.
because they do that to me all the time. Whenever the last few times I've had shots, they talking about you gonna feel a slight pinch, but they already got the needle in there. So I'm sitting there like, that's how y'all doing it? I mean, they do that all the time now.
They just had never done it to her before. I think it caught her a little. Well, it caught her way off guard because, like I say, she was already in her arm by the time the lady started talking, and then she hit her with that second one. Like she leaned in with that net needle, Jack. I'm like, damn, did you have to drive it in her arm like that? What y'all trying to get that shit down to the bone? That is rough.
How
See, for
big?
me, I hate shots. And needles make me I hate needles in general,
Mhm.
but I've learned over time that when it comes to getting shots, I'm not really worried about the needle so much as the nurse. Like the quality of the nurse is what really determines how bad this is going to be. If you get one of them old ladies who's been doing this for like 40 years, it's nothing because they don't want to be there either. So they know how to just do do and wipe you up and send you on your way. But you get some of them youngins who's fresh, especially me being a fat man, half the time they can't even find my veins. Like that, that's what's truly the worst. When they think they found a vein, poke it, find out they have it, pull out and like, oh, I gotta search some more. It's somewhere in here. It's somewhere in here. And then now I'm questioning your whole competency level. So on top of already not wanting to get stuck in the first place, now I don't even believe you're fully qualified to do this job with somebody like me. All right. So when I walk in there for a shot, the older the better, as far as I'm concerned. I want one of them that can barely walk, who look like she about to retire in 6 months. All right.
Missed. Oh, missed. Oh, don't know what I pulled out there. That
Yeah,
wasn't blood.
yeah. No, 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 no. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. All right. I want her to slowly shuffle onto a seat, and then she look at me with that look of halfway impatient. Them old black women, they ain't got no time to waste. So they look like, yo, we gonna go ahead and get this done. Yes, ma'am. No problem. Let's do it. All right. Done like that, and then you up out of there. That's what I want.
It's bogus when you got to lead a
100%.
I
hospital,
always
you got to
ask,
lead a doctor, and you got traps in your arm. That's bogus. It look like you
"Boy,
addicted
you
to
did chew
heroin.
that, did you?"
Come on now. Nah, I'm not feeling it.
Hey,
I
I'm
how
used
not feeling it,
big?
to
my brother.
when they
How
come to
big
drain
was
my
that
blood.
second nurse? How big was that second nurse? Because she sound tough. She just told you, sir, you got to step aside. I mean, what?
She wasn't that big at all. Wasn't that big at all. But I guess she done dealt with enough kids like you. She like, all right, I know exactly what to do. She sat right on that boy's lap, grabbed his arm, and it was over with after that. She like, just hold on. He come on, I just want to. Oh, that's it. All right, I'm calming down now. Who is this kid? Calm down now. Blew me out the water. I said, all right, because I got on out the way, but the lady said move. I'm like, oh, see, I was talking nice to you. I,
That's awesome.
I got right on out the way, like, all right, son, I'll see you in a minute. Now you got to deal with Betsy and her partner.
For a brief second, he felt so abandoned. For a brief second, he felt like, I
Boy,
can't believe this.
hey,
Right.
that's one of the ones I was fine for him to feel that way. Hey, see, I tried to walk you through it. Now I'm going over here. And me and Jada standing outside the booth looking at him like, Jada sitting there with her arm, like, yeah, that's messed up. Like, yeah, you could have went in there and comforted your brother. She like, no, I got mine. Go get yours.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, brothers. I appreciate you all sharing your day. I'm hearing an echo or something in the background. Do you all hear that? Ah, that's on your side. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
sorry
Thank you,
about
sir. No problem. No problem, brother.
that.
We try to do a show over here, Cynthia.
I know, right?
All right. Moving on to our main topic. Biden is officially our new president, technically. Of course, Trump has not agreed to concede. up to this point, and he's been telling anybody and everybody who will listen that he somehow won the election and that there is fraud resulting in hundreds of thousands, actually millions of fraudulent votes that have been put in around the country, and it is all insanity. But we have a third of the country and the vast majority of Republicans who are currently in office not treating it like insanity, which actually makes this kind of serious, to be honest with you all, because we are in uncharted territories. I don't care how far back in American history you go, I don't care how horrible the president was. When they lost and it came time to concede, that we went on ahead and did it. This is the first time ever that we've had a president try to use their cult of personality and the following that it has gathered to try to basically illegally take the presidency. Up to this point, forget not calling. Trump has not released the millions of dollars in transition funds that the Biden team is supposed to receive in order to begin that process of trying to get his new staff and everything set up and ready so that there is a smooth transition come January. In fact, I believe it was announced today that he's supposed to be working on a budget for next year that so that he can announce it as if he's still the president. It is all just insanity. It's all complete insanity. And the cherry on top for me has to be the what is he, the Secretary of Defense, Mike Pompeo. He was asked during a recent international conference whether or not what Trump's doing would impact his team's ability to transition to Biden's administration when everything turns over. And without missing a beat, there was no hesitation. He didn't think about it. He looked dead at this man and immediately said, "No, of course not. This is going to have no impact on our ability to do a transition. We will be fully ready to transition into Trump's second administration whenever the president is ready." Like it's just it's just no acknowledgement whatsoever on their side that this man
Yeah.
is lost. They are all living in a reality where he is the real president. And so I guess my first question is, do either of you believe that Trump is ever actually going to concede the presidency, or is the military going to end up dragging his ass literally out of the White House? Hudson, how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, I think we got to first realize that he thought he was going to win. He actually thought he was going to win, and part of the reason I think that is because I think if he thought he was actually going to lose, he was going to push up that Pfizer announcement, and he was going to try to use that in his campaign. He was going to because
Mm-hmm.
for anybody who doesn't know, Pfizer announced that they have a 90% effective vaccine or whatever that they still have to do some more testing and observations on, but they're gloating at about 90% rate. I think had Trump thought he was going to lose, he would have pushed that announcement forward and he'd have made it as part of his, I did the fast track thing and all of that. So he didn't think he was going to lose, which only added fuel to his fire that he's been putting out for the past 4 years. He damn near said since day one of his presidency that they were going to rig the election against him for his second term. He basically started setting that in motion, and he put people in key places because a little thing. It's not the president who releases the funds. I forgot what office it is, but it's an office where, of course, he put in the person in charge of that particular department that would release those funds, and so he put a loyalist
Mm-hmm.
there who is saying they're not releasing funds, right now for this, and there was an article about what he did with key positions in the Pentagon, which raised some alarms. Look, at the end of the day, he's going to stay there until he's absolutely told, okay, it's time to go. You've played this game long enough. It's time for you to get out. Now they're going to they're it's going to be awkward because they're not going to want to have to drag him out kicking and screaming per se. They're not going to want to have to take military or whoever they would take to do it to actually escort him out of the building. They're not going to want to do that.
Make a martyr of him.
Right. Um, and at the end of the day, the White House is a building. It's a building. Biden can certainly do his job from anywhere else of a number of different places. It just so happens that the White House tends to be, of course, probably the most secure place to do the business. So, I mean, it would kind of suck in that regard. But he might try to hold it hostage. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is his people are going to be gone. Biden's going to put his people in place for his administration, and just what you're going to see first is Trump's people being escorted out of the building first as a warning to Trump. Hey, it's time for you to go because we're taking your people out of place right now. So if you don't want to be led out on the 6 o'clock news, then you better get on out of here because the writing's on the wall. So I think he's going to find out that what he might be under the illusion of is that he's got these loyalists to a point that they're going to go to jail for him or that they're going to martyr themselves for him or something. And those aren't the type of loyalists he has because they don't have that kind of stuff in their blood to be that kind of person. Like they have no loyalty to anything really. They just want to buck a system and feel important. So he thinks he's got all this backup. He might even think the Proud Boys are going to come to the White House on his last day to make sure that no one tries to escort him out. But they're not. No one's coming up there to help him. No one's going to do anything. And at the end of the day, they're going to say, well, time's up. Biden's the president now. Well, yeah, we were loyal to you. Now we are loyal to this one. He is now the president, so we have to do what he says, and that's pretty much how it's going to be.
Hmm. Jason, how do you feel?
Well, my biggest concern in it is just what are the ramifications or what are the results of doing what he's doing is going to be in future elections, period. Right now, you're basically questioning Americans on who they decided to choose to be their president. And you throwing this hissy fit and all these lawsuits and everything else is going to, at the end of the day, is basically going to cost people money. Now, I don't know if that's going to come out of his pocket or from what I keep seeing, which is why I keep talking about I keep getting these weird emails all the time. I see these little emails coming out from Trump and whatnot that's basically asking people to donate to the lawsuits for these lawsuits that don't make no damn sense. That you can't seem to actually you can't seem to actually sit down and say, well, this is why we're doing it. And once that reason gets thrown out, you come with a whole different one. And then comes another different one when that one gets thrown out. Either the dudes were standing too far away, or that they wasn't in the room, or they were padlocked in the closet. Somebody beat them up and drug them out back. Well, what the hell happened, dude? I'm sorry. What you keep telling me, the whole basis behind these lawsuits is that your people weren't in the room while they were counting ballots. Kind of sounds like to me you got the wrong motherfuckers in the room in the first place. Because if they dumbasses wasn't smart enough to get close enough to the ballots, or maybe even that's why you set it up. Maybe that's how you set it up. You told your people to fuck around, hey, just back about the room and pretend like they're keeping you out. I don't know. It could be a whole slew of different things and whatnot, but it basically breaks down. Like I think it was a judge in Pennsylvania that was like, hey, were your people in the room? And basically, they had no. I forget what the statement was. It was something that was very fucking stupid. That we had zero amount of people. Something. It was something real dumb. And a lawyer said that to a judge, and he's like, "Was anybody in the fucking room?" It's like, "Yeah, they were in the room." Well, what's the problem? Well, they were 25 feet away. Well, move them fucking closer. Like it's like I don't all this shit. I just worry about ramifications on this when it comes to future elections, on how the whole procedure is going to be, and where it's going to go with this. Like, I don't see this dude just doing anything just because. You know, whether however frivolous it is, every move he's made is been for a reason. Plain and simple, especially when he's done things like this that he's planned so far ahead to sow these seeds of doubt in order to put in. Like it might even get to the point where we realize that it wasn't even about him getting back into the office. I don't know what this is. I haven't paid any attention. Is it doing something to the stock market? Has it made his business grow somehow? Everything this man has done and every decision that he's made since he's been elected has been something for him.
I can tell you exactly what he's doing. He is ensuring, without a shadow of a doubt, that he's going to be able to run in 2024. He is ensuring that he's not going to just fade away and be forgotten, because at the end of the day, his supporters are going to treat him like a martyr for 4 years straight. That's just the way it's going to be. 93% of Republicans voted for this man. There are no moderate Republicans who had an issue with the way he's been conducting themselves. Republicans in general have decided this is our guy. I happen to know multiple black male conservatives who voted for Trump. And you can have a situation where a politician on TV is doing something crazy, and his surrogates who are on TV will make a bunch of excuses about it. But if you talk to the people who voted for this man on the ground, they'll be like, I don't necessarily, regret my vote, but what I'm seeing is absolutely insane. They'll be able to call something out as crazy and say, I don't agree with what I'm seeing. That's not what I'm hearing from these Trump supporters right now.
Mhm.
Like, even the ones who actually do believe that he lost this election fairly and squarely, they're not repulsed at seeing him basically try to steal it. If anything, it's making them giddy. They're like, whoa, maybe he can still gangster his way into the White House, even though he didn't actually win the vote. So I'll be honest. I think I agree with you wholeheartedly that this is extremely dangerous. It's not going away at all. And in 2024, we're going to have to do this whole merry-go-round again, because I'd venture to say Trump will unless Democrats do the things that they really need to do over the next 4 years, which is in question, and we can talk about that a little bit later on. If that type of pushback doesn't happen, I feel like he'll come back to 2024 even stronger, because he's going to spend these next 4 years being a martyr, telling anybody who will listen that he was cheated. He's going to be rallying around the country, and that whole time, Biden is going to be doing the type of things, hopefully, that this third of the country did not want to see happen, throwing even more fuel on the fire. So this is just this is not going away anytime soon, and I don't see it as something small, especially when you have the news that came out today that apparently the Secretary of State, who is a Republican, has called for a full recount of all Georgia votes. For those people who don't know, it's somewhere in the range of 5 million. 5 million votes that they are now going to recount by hand, all because Trump has decided that somewhere, somehow, he's been cheated. Mind you, he has not provided any evidence that he's been cheated. None. None. So they are basically doing this because he feels slighted. And Georgia has to pay for this to be done.
Mhm.
Trump's not paying for it. Like, that is, it's baffling and it's scary. And I don't know. I don't think I agree with you, Hudson, when you say like these people aren't as loyal to Trump as he thinks they are. Because at the end of the day, I feel like this entire country has decided the Republican Party is Trump's party. And it's been proven time and time again. Republicans who stand up against Trump lose their power almost immediately. Almost immediately. Those Republicans who stood up against Trump during the primaries, those never Trumpers, none of those guys survived. except John McCain, and he died. Like the rest of them, they either lost or like Flake and the rest of them, or they got in line like Lindsey Graham. And I don't think that is just because he stops being president. Because at the end of the day, he's still rich. He's still that symbol of white supremacy. He can still go to any rally across the country and get thousands of people who are going to want to come out and see him.
Mm.
So I don't know. I don't see an end. I
In
don't see an
every
end. What were you going to say?
in every great story, there's a villain. I mean, you have no story without a villain. You have no story without an antagonist. So you know, Trump getting in 2024. Okay, it's. And I'm not saying like that's a good thing, but at the end of the day, there's stuff that the Democratic Party needs to do. There's stuff that the Republican Party needs to do. At the end of the day, we got two bickering sides, and they were bickering before Trump, and they will bicker this 4 year term with Biden, and they will bicker long after, unless we people really start to get down to the nitty gritty and see that that's the problem. With all the great minds in this country, we can figure out things that could work economy wise for most people in this country. Heck, we have. We we could figure out all these things that ail us. We could figure out homelessness. We could figure out the we could figure out the shoot what's it called, the environment. We can figure all of that out.
Poverty. Oh,
Poverty, we can
okay.
figure out
Mhm.
poverty. I mean, we can figure all these things out. But here's what we don't get if Trump doesn't keep battling, right? We don't get the Democratic Party to step up. If there is no Trump, there will be no Democratic Party stepping up and trying to step their game up, right? It just won't happen. They're going to stay just like they are and stay conservative like they are, just a little bit less conservative than the Republican Party. We're not going to see AOC rise. We're not going to see anyone like Bernie Sanders come along and go a little bit farther left with things. It's not going to happen until we settle in and figure out that, hey, there's villains in this world and they need to be defeated. What isn't that what the Avengers movie was all about? The first Avengers movie. Hey, we, now the world
Mhm.
sees that we got these supervillains and that we need a team like this to help take them out when that happens,
Mhm.
right? And they will be there. So when we talk about worry, no, I'm not. I'm not really worried. At the end of the day, this is almost what's got to happen in order for us to finally get to where we need to get.
Yeah, I can see that. That you make a great point. Make a great point. So actually, that brings me into my next question about what are the kind of things Democrats should be pushing over the next 4 years. What I've seen a lot on TV and social media is moderate centrist Democrats basically saying that they feel like defund the police hurt the Democrats, that there would have been a blue wave. They would have taken more House seats. They would have taken the Senate clearly without it coming down to this nail biter. If the GOP was not able to release all of those ads, basically linking Democrats to defund the police and therefore linking them in the minds of some voters with policies that could potentially destroy the police department in their local districts, from the minds of people who don't really understand what defund the police is about. So AOC has pushed back strongly on this and said that, first and foremost, the Democratic Party didn't come up with defund the police. Defund the police was created by black activists in response to police brutality. And therefore, they don't have the control to be able to say, well, change the name to something different. activists should not be at the mercy of politicians. Politicians should be able to figure out messaging that makes it clear what they're about. But there are other people who are essentially saying that defund the police and hard leftist policies in general are making the Democratic Party look bad and making it much harder for them to draw together the type of coalition they need to win races. And so I was curious, did either one of you have an opinion on that? I'll start with you, Hudson. Do you feel like the defund the police movement hurt the Democratic Party?
Yes, and the reason it did is because they don't take a real stand. They don't take a real stand one way or another. Most of them, a lot of them try to end up avoiding the question. It's what is your stance on it? And then for me, it's okay. You know what you're getting when you're with me, and you know what you're not getting if you go the other way. So they have to take a stand on it. It's an issue. It is an important issue, and to basically kind of avoid it, which a lot of Democrats did, and Republicans too, but they avoid it in a better way for them to get elected by pointing the finger. You know, they avoided it by pointing the finger. Democrats with their "I'm going to try to take the high road" just kind of avoid it. Um, they have to take a stand. Do they agree with it or don't they agree with it? Just because you're Democrat doesn't mean you agree with defund the police. Heck, Biden said that he didn't agree with defund the police. I don't know if he took a different stance later, but he basically said he didn't agree with
No.
defunding the police. So at the end of the day, though, what do you mean by defund the police? And this is what we've talked about over and over again: is that Republicans know how to market and Democrats don't. Come up with a true plan
Exactly.
of what defund the police means. And you have to come up with a few different plans, because what works in a big city like Chicago isn't going to work in a smaller city like St. Louis. So, while there could be similarities in the plan, maybe it's a three-tier plan or a four-tier plan based on what tier your city is considered to be. So,
Hmm.
is it a step plan where it's going to start in certain cities and move on? But there's no plan out there but what activists say that they think the plan is. And activists are very vague with it. It's defund them. What does
Right.
that mean? Here I got this sign, and that's it. I mean, so no one knows what that means, and I can't blame people for not for being scared to vote a certain way. If now, people should be smart enough to realize that, hey, just because Republicans are pointing a finger, that should tell you right there they're avoiding the issue too. So both parties are avoiding the issue. So they people should be kind of smart enough to realize you're not getting any better just because. But yeah, I do think it hurt their campaigns. Um, I think the people who took a stance on it, I think they came out better, and I think a lot of them won their races. So at the end of the day, if it's an issue, you need to speak on it. Period. Point blank. If you don't, you can't blame anybody but yourself for losing the election because of it.
Jason, how do you feel?
I kind of feel the same way. I mean, just in regards to vagueness and the no priority anybody decided to put into explaining what defund the police meant. I didn't even know what the hell it meant for. What first time I heard about it, it's like, oh, so we just getting rid of the police. And nobody made any clarifications on it. And it seems like in certain different areas, it meant something different from what anybody else was talking about. Some folks was actually talking about just abolishing the police. Then there were some people that were talking about, say allocating funds to certain other, community things. There were other different people that was talking about taking money in order to giving more money so that they can mess around and do more training for police officers. So it shit's all over the damn place. And if you're going to sit out there and you're going to announce it, and it's not to say that Biden or Kamala or any part of that the race I think they didn't latch on to it because of maybe that those different opinions of what it was. So in order for them to actually make a statement about defunding the police, they would have they would have basically had to choose which one of these people's ideas they wanted to run with in regards to it. And I don't think there was any kind of communication or anything like that involved. Even when it comes to his presidential campaign, I don't even think he wanted to even deal with that part of it, quite honestly. I think all I ever heard them mention was just police reform. And
Mm.
that's pretty much what Democrats talk about all the time. So he seemed to kind of just stick to his normal talking points that any other Democrat would in the grand scheme. So when it came to whether or not it hurt him or not, I think the fact that they didn't take the time out to try and at least manage the idea of what this was supposed to be in order to maybe just inform those conservatives or some of those moderates in regards to what people were actually thinking in regards to what they wanted to do with this defunding part. But in order to do that, they would have had to claim it. And I think there was enough, salt and whatnot thrown on top of defunding that I think they basically just felt like it was best to just kind of back up off of it and just talk they normal talking points of police reform.
So, um, one, I think we've talked about this on the show before. It's not enough to have good policy. You have to also market it properly, right? This is the problem with the Affordable Care Act. It was good policy, or at least better than what we already had, but it was horribly marketed. They allowed Republicans to take over the marketing, and it created a kind of a permanent stain in the minds of a lot of conservative people that it was somehow damaging their lives. I think the phrase defund the police, it leaves open too many holes. It lets people kind of just come up with their own idea of what it actually means, as opposed to Medicare for all, which as much as Republicans talk bad about it and try to push it as something horrible for the public, they push it as something horrible by talking about what it is. It's health care for everybody. That's exactly what it is. Now, Republicans are trying to say that that's a bad thing, that it's socialism, that it's terrible for you, but it's not really working. Like 62% of the country has already voted on this and made it clear, like, no, this is something we like. And it crosses barriers between Democrats and Republicans alike because it's good marketing. They marketed it in a way that it's like, hey, are you tired of paying for drugs? Are you tired of paying for your medical care? Medicare for all fixes that. When you say defund the police, it doesn't immediately make it clear to people what it is you're advocating for. But again, it's not the responsibility of activists to try to put together their initiatives in a way that's comfortable or helps politicians, especially when politicians are why we have this need for defund the police to begin with. Because for over a century now, politicians have not addressed the issue of police brutality. That's basically what this comes down to. So how are you going to complain? And these people who are coming out saying that defund the police had such a negative impact on their races, none of them have come up with an alternative plan. None of them, even Biden. All right, Biden said, I don't believe in defund the police. They asked him what he was going to do. He was like, well, I pay for more training. This ain't a training issue. Like, yeah, that's part of it, but really this is about culture. There's been plenty of instances where we've had a person who's been on the force for 20, 30 years and then shot somebody and murdered him in cold blood for no damn reason. All right. This ain't just about training. This is a culture problem. Defund the police addresses this essentially as a culture issue. But to take it a step further, something else AOC said that I thought was interesting is when you look at AOC and Cory Bush and some of these other progressives that have now got into Congress, they all beat Democrats in order to get there. Like they all challenged the establishment, more centrist Democrats, and then beat them. And so AOC is like, we are the ones who understand the weaknesses of what Democrats are doing right now. Like, we are the ones who analyzed it, look at how they've been trying to win races, and see these people are completely weak online. They're completely weak in their marketing strategies. They're completely weak in how they're pushing information to the general population. And we could take advantage of that to win our races. And AOC is basically like, they are so stuck on hating progressives and hating progressive policies that they won't even entertain the idea of, let's sit down and have a conversation, trade information back and forth. And why don't you use some of the same vendors and resources we've been using to shore up your infrastructure and what you're doing so that you can be more effective against Republicans? If you are known as a vendor who helped a progressive win their race, you go on a blacklist. Like, that's basically public knowledge now. Nancy Pelosi says, okay, the DNC will not do any work with this organization whatsoever, even though this organization just proved, hey, I can completely demolish what the DNC has been doing online. And to me, this all just plays into Republicans' hands, because what has become absolutely clear is that Republicans are brainwashing people across the country. They are pushing this right wing ideology and this right wing messaging down people's throats, which is why 250,000 Latinos in Florida all believe that Joe Biden is a socialist and the second coming of Fidel Castro. Like, they are pushing this across the country, and it is working. And it is working because folks are not being presented with a real alternative. And one more thing on that subject, AOC said, and I agree. I never thought of it this way, but now that she put it this way, I feel like she's right. She was like, the problem with the way Democrats are investing their money is that they invest in personalities like Beto O'Rourke, or these people that kind of come out of left field, and then all of a sudden, hey, he might be that guy that can dethrone Mitch McConnell or Ted Cruz, or the latest high power Republican that nobody thinks can be defeated, but oh, there's this one guy that might be able to do it. And she was like, instead of investing in personalities, sorry, you all have been sick as a dog for the past week. Instead of instead of investing in personalities, Democrats should be investing in states. They should be investing in the infrastructure and the activists in these states. And then, no matter what personality comes about, they can take advantage of the activists and the infrastructure that is available to run quality races that can really challenge Republicans. And that's what's not happening right now. They'll dump $2-3 million into this one individual candidate who they feel like might be a star, and then that doesn't work out. And then there's just nothing there. There's no machine there that's trying to push more people to understand what the Democratic Party is doing and sign on to it. It's a recipe for disaster.
Well, at some point, the Republican Party was a progressive party, and at the end of the day, those people got old and became conservative. And eventually, that's what's going to happen with the Democratic Party. They're right now they're pushing ideals that young people want, and eventually, the young people who supported them for so long getting old. And they've turned more and more conservative over the years. I mean, and are ultimately going to be conservative. I mean, like I said, it's gonna. I'm looking at a party split. I'm looking at it happening sooner than I thought it was going to happen. I think, but it's just crazy how it's just crazy to look at the different ways of thinking within that party, and what they're doing is just absolutely insane. There's no reason. I mean, you said it before. There's no reasoning behind who they put against Mitch McConnell. There was no reasoning behind that. It was crazy, and anybody looking at it was going to say, and I think they spent what, like 10 times more money than what Mitch McConnell's
And he's
campaign spent. It's crazy.
that's what the data shows, that you have these moderate Democrats that the DNCC loves to try to run. They'll run moderate Democrats in these areas that are supposedly more moderate, and they'll give these people tons and tons and tons and tons of money, and these people will lose, all right, and lose convincingly. Mitch McConnell's race was not close. Lindsey Graham's race was not close. They should have been close. Neither one of these people are known for really serving their constituents. But in order to peel constituents away, you have to give them a real choice. Meanwhile, 87% of the Democrats who directly signed on to Medicare for All and said that's a proposal I would sign off on won their races. And many of them were running in areas that were extremely competitive. They did not have the backing of the DNCC. They did not have nearly the kind of money that these moderate Democrats were getting, but they were able to present a vision to the population. And so consequently, they were able to win their races. And when you talk about some of the more established progressives, they won their races easily. AOC won re-election easily. Ilhan Omar, Donald Trump went to Minnesota directly challenged Ilhan Omar from the podium, told the people of Minnesota, you have to deliver Minnesota to me because people like Ilhan Omar cannot be allowed to remain in Congress. He called her out by name. And she's still in a place like Minnesota, which ain't known as being the most hyper liberal. I mean, this is where George Floyd got murdered, where some of the most highest cases of police brutality have occurred. In a place like Minnesota, she won her race by a landslide. A landslide. And so this becomes the problem. When are people who are running the Democratic Party going to understand you have to present candidates that actually stand for something? Which brings me to these Georgia races. So we've got these two Senate races in Georgia, right? And they are going to decide essentially which party runs the Senate for the next, 2 to 4 years. Well, media organization named Axios had an interview with Ossoff, one of the people who's running. And they said, hey, we feel like you're on a much bigger stage now, and that a lot of people are just now getting introduced to you. And we feel like people who are potentially going to send you money or vote for you should have an idea of what you support. So I just want to do some quick hits and find out what you do or do not support, right? Medicare for all, no. Green New Deal, no. Defund the police, no. She went through like 3 or 4 other things, and it's all just like no, 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 no. And when you finish looking at it, not only looking at that video, but also the tweet that Axios put out on Twitter with a brief summary of what he does or does not believe in, he basically comes off as an empty suit. He comes off as a guy who stands for nothing. He comes off as a guy who basically, I'm going to support you and send you money because I don't want Republicans to have power. But I know you don't give a fuck. You don't plan to actually stand for anything or do anything. And for some reason, the DNC believes that there's this massive group of voters who finds these type of candidates appealing. There's not. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on, left, right, dead center, whatever. You want your candidates to actually stand for something. To say, okay, this is what I'm attempting to do. If you don't like Medicare for all, what do you like? If you don't like defund the police, don't believe that's the way to deal with police brutality, what do you advocate? What do you feel like should be done? They're not doing that. They're not providing a real vision. They're just saying, I don't side with anything that I think might make people uncomfortable. You should be absolutely comfortable with me because I'm not going to do anything that you might find offensive. That doesn't work. Not anymore. It worked 40 years ago. It worked before I was born. You could have these vanilla people coming in who really never really took a side. Those times are dead. And looking at that, it makes me feel like the DNCC still doesn't get that, which is sad. It's incredibly sad.
Well, here's the one. Here's the
So
one thing that's actually, this is one of the few things, if the only thing, I would compliment Donald Trump on, is that he forces you to do something, and if you don't do
come on
something,
now.
you're going to get steamrolled. I mean, and that's just how it is. And they and he's really kind of gotten the major players in that party to kind of go along with that same thing. I mean, look, they just steamrolled that Supreme Court justice into into that spot. They're trying to steamroll the election. They're trying to you have to do something, and no one can just sit around and just not do anything. And that's what Donald Trump has provided,
Mm-hmm.
is the should have provided the motivation. Now, to me, the biggest problem
Right.
is, do you actually want to serve the people, or you just want a job? And that's the key to
Mm-hmm.
this, is that the people who are going to make it, it should at least should make it, are the people who actually want to do the work and do the business. What do your constituents want? You need to find that out,
Right.
and then you need to work towards that. It's not
Mm-hmm.
what you want, not what you think should happen. What do your constituents want? Right? And then you go from there. And as a senator,
Mm-hmm.
by nature, some senators are going to be more moderate than others, because hey, you might be a Democrat, but most of your constituents might want more conservative stuff. So, but you got to talk to your constituents, find out what they want, and work with them on what you want. You can try to put a Democratic spin on a conservative thing and dress it up if you want, but you have to give your constituents something. You're not just going to win
Mm-hmm.
by, I'm just going to ignore what they want. When I'm in office, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. Well, is that what the people in your state want? And you got to
Right.
find that out. And that's it's a huge problem with this two-party system, is that they don't care. It's just whatever the DNC wants, whatever the RNC wants. They're all empty suits as far as I'm concerned. They're going to vote for whatever the party wants, and that's it. And I can't
Mm-hmm.
stand it.
Yeah. That was the other thing that also said no to that I forgot about. They asked if he would be willing to pack the courts. They're talking about when Biden comes in, they might try to pack more people into the Supreme Court to offset some of Trump's picks. And he was like, "No, I wouldn't be willing to do that." So, what is your plan to deal with the way lower courts and the Supreme Court have basically been taken over by the Republican Party unfairly? Unfairly, you got no plans. But what your comment did remind me of, that I completely forgot. There was a fascinating interview with Chuck Schumer, where he was talking about whether or not Biden's legacy and his ability to get things done was wholly dependent upon whether or not Democrats could take the Senate. And he aggressively was like, "No, it is not." He was like, "Whether we get the Senate or not," he basically repeated exactly what you said, Hudson, that they're in a time frame right now where it's become clear a lot of people feel abandoned by the Democratic Party and feel like the Democratic Party has not really serviced its base. And he said, whether we have the Senate or not, we are going to have to make big changes over the next 4 years to reestablish our brand and make it clear that the Democratic Party cares about people. And so that was when I posted on social media about they're giving serious consideration to Biden passing an executive order that would forgive $50,000 worth of student loan debt for people across the country, which the president does have the power to do. And so I think that interview and seeing the passion there really gives me hope that hopefully there are some people really in charge of the Democratic Party who understand the stakes and, like you said, feel pushed by everything Trump is doing to really get some things done and make some clear stances about how they want to move the country forward. One can only hope.
Yeah,
Oh
take that
yeah.
and shut up. You see, you ain't got no
Exactly.
student loans. Now what?
Exactly. Um, So one more thing about it, I think it would be remiss if we didn't talk about that for the first time in our country, we have a woman vice president, and it's a black woman at that. Big deal, very historic moment, long time coming. Simone was sitting on my lap as we watched Kamala Harris giving her speech. Of course, it wasn't all that impactful for Simone, but it was deep for me. Just to have Simone be able to see her, and she was reaching out towards the TV, trying to touch her the whole time. It was like I would definitely be 100% comfortable with Simone growing up being used to seeing a woman in the White House in some capacity, and not even really knowing or understanding this era we went through where people were uncomfortable with voting women into positions of power and authority in this country. So again, I haven't changed my previous stance. I don't agree with Kamala Harris politically. She was not someone who I really supported to be president. That has nothing to do with the importance of this moment. And I'm happy that it's happened. And who knows what she's going to do with this power? Maybe in 4 years from now, I'll actually be singing her praises, saying, "Hey, I'd have no problems with her being president whatsoever." So we'll see. Just felt the need to speak on that.
Here's what I
Concept.
love to see.
Kamala versus Trump.
Here's what I would love to see, and I would love to see fraternities and sororities really start making a push, especially in places where they're strong. Um, Chicago has a very strong fraternity sorority community here, and I would love to start seeing them really make a push together with regards to trying to, get some more things done politically. I love to see them start trying to push more people in the office and things like that. Especially in some of these down south areas too. I love to see them start beating the streets and get more political and get together. I think it's time. So I would like to say, because I have read this online a few times. Because of the pandemic, I just don't get out anymore, so I haven't actually talked to anybody in person about it. But I've read this online a few times, claiming or saying that she is not black because of her nationalities. Let's make this clear.
Bruh.
Let's make this clear. Let's
Hmm.
go back to the 1700s. You tell me if they're not putting her in chains if this was the 1700s, and then come back to tell me if she's black or not. So let's just get that straight. I'm gonna tell you where I stand right now. That is a black woman. You can go into the nationalities all you want. That is a black woman. So just gonna call it like that and let it go from that point. But the historical, yes, absolutely, it is. It is remarkable. I love it. I love that my daughter's going to be able to see it. My nieces, all. I mean, I love that they're going to be able to see this. And one of her strongest statements, I think she said, I think she got that from her mother or her grandmother, was that you might be the first to do
Mhm.
something, but make sure you're not the last. So, that statement, I definitely appreciate it. And, so if that's a tale that she's going to try to open some doors, I power to her, and she's got my full support if I can help her in anything.
Jason, were you going to say something?
Uh, Not really. Just happy to see it. I've never been one of them folks who've been, I appreciate the fact that somebody took the time out to actually, to be a visual fixture for our sisters. Uh, Hopefully she gets the support that she needs, and hopefully she gets everything and is able to implement and do the things that she wants to do in the position that she's in. And hopefully it opens doors for anybody or any other woman who wants to pursue that type of position, who feels that they have the ability to do so. And I just appreciate her being an example. Like you say, when it comes to the background and the things that we've done politically, I mean, I personally am somebody who believes in the now. You have this platform, you have this position. What are you going to do now? We can sit back and talk about what she did in the past for the longest, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't have the ability to make things right or make things better for people now. So I wish her the best.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely concur. She absolutely is black. I want to know. I think some people um, find it offensive that she almost never talks about her father, and her father is Jamaican, while her mother is Indian. I think it is worth noting that she probably feels abandoned by her father. Like there was a really bad breakup between her parents, and her mother took her to America, and contact with her father has been extremely limited. So it's not the relationship is just not the same. So it makes complete sense that she wouldn't mention her father in the same way that she talks about her mother. That does not mean she's denying her blackness or trying to hide her blackness to get ahead. It's interesting actually that you brought this up. Sorry, you're going to say something, Jason?
No, you know how I feel about people in their opinions. Big rocks. Who cares? Why is it a big deal? Why is it necessary to tear it down? And why can't we just accept it for what it is? Number one, it's the first woman vice president, whether she's black, whether she's Indian, whatever it is she claiming, we can see it, we know what she is. Now
Hmm.
you want to sit up and you want to say what she is, that's your opinion and that's what it is. Whatever her relationship is with her father, whatever the relationship is with her mother, that's her relationship. Let's figure out
Right.
what she gonna do while she in the office. How about that?
Hmm.
Let's focus on what she's gonna do with the office now. Is she gonna try and make this fucking country better now that she has it? Or are we gonna sit here and we gonna speculate whether or not she black or not?
Exactly.
It's just like for the last 4 years we sat down and we called fucking Trump fucking bigot and a racist and everything else and didn't get shit done. Nothing.
Hmm.
Nothing at all. So we gonna fuck around and harp on shit that don't fucking matter. It don't.
Right.
Now it's time to fix some shit. He fucked up everything for 4 years. Let's fix it. If she fix it,
Yeah.
I could give fuck if she was blue from the planet fucking Venus.
Hmm.
Long as she get in there and do what
Agreed.
she's supposed to do.
I agree 100%. Jason brought up something interesting in chat. He said Kamala Harris is not black. Black is used for African Americans. And I've heard a lot of people online saying this, that because her blackness comes from Jamaican ancestry, she should not be referred to as black. And I strongly disagree with that. And I feel like we're the only ones who really do this. When you when you say white and you consider who is who is a part of white culture, it is a huge melting pot. It's not just the Britons who came over from America and the people who can trace their ancestry back to those specific people. There's a whole bunch of different groups that have decided to come over from America, and because they are treated as a certain way because of their skin color, they all consider themselves part of one group. They don't differentiate themselves and say, well, I'm actually directly descended from the original colonies, therefore put me in a different category and treat me differently. It doesn't work like that. But for some reason, black people believe that I feel like we always find a way to separate ourselves and to say, well, you're not really black. Well, I'm dark skinned, you're light skinned. Well, you're gay, I'm not gay. Well, you're Muslim, I'm not Muslim. There's always a reason why black people should not work together, should not collaborate, should not feel kinship with one another. And therefore, you come up with these things like, well, I'm the only one who's black. You're something different. You're this different thing, even though we look the same and we're treated the exact same way in this country. And so I don't agree with this. But and yes, Indians do use a caste system, Jason, but she's Indian Jamaican. Jamaicans are treated the same way in this country as ADOS are. So why is it that we feel the need to separate ourselves from them? To me, it doesn't make any sense. But it's interesting you brought Sorry, you were going to say something, Hudson?
Well, I was going to say, when you take South Africa, for example, who has a lot of people, a lot of white people who were born in Africa, in South Africa, and some of those folk have come to this country, you wouldn't think to call those folk African American. You wouldn't. Because African
Hmm.
American is technically based off origin, where you were born, or where your ancestors were born, or etc. Right? So you wouldn't think to call those folk
Hmm.
African American. Black is a race. It designates color. It doesn't, I mean, if you want to be technical, you can say brown if you want, but it's you would not call a white person from South Africa who came to America and migrated here. You would not call them African American. You wouldn't. So, I mean, I kind of get what people are trying to do here, but if it's really that important, just say POC. She's a person of color. If you really want to make it anything about that, but like I said, she here in the 1700s, they're gonna put her in chains just like they were gonna do us. So,
Just like the rest of us.
so I
Now,
mean, I'm not gonna sit here and try to make those distinctions. I think it's petty. And I think we should try to move on and move forward with her as our vice president, and see what she does. Like Jason said, what is she going to do? We need to find that out, and we need to
right.
move forward with it if it's an agenda that we support.
Absolutely. So it's interesting that you brought this up because I've been like a 2 day long battle on Twitter about this. There's a talk show, a podcast on YouTube that I love to watch called Secular Talk. And he put up this painting somebody did that has John McCain, John Lewis, Elijah Cummings, and RGB as up at the top as like angels looking down at Kamala Harris and Biden hugging, probably because of their victory or whatnot, right? And he put it on Twitter. It was like, "Don't do this shit." Like made it like he felt like the painting was horrible and that was cringe and that is overblown, blah, blah. So I put a message out there and I was like, hey, I feel like this is actually tasteful because John Lewis and Cummings absolutely would have been excited about the first black woman to be president. RGB absolutely would have been excited about a woman finally becoming vice president. And McCain absolutely would be excited about Trump finally losing. So
Mhm.
I didn't see what was the big deal, right? And I get this wave, this absolute wave of progressives. These are people who are leftists. These are people who support Bernie Sanders. These are people who technically we all want the same things, right? And want the same things for the country. This wave of just hate about Kamala Harris and how she isn't black and she's a war criminal and she's locked up a bunch of people and how could you possibly be on board with such horrible politics? And I'm like, yo, I don't agree with her politics, but this is an historic moment. And the picture is really commemorating this moment. Like you can't take that away. You can't just separate it. And again, you get these waves of people who are like, no, it doesn't really matter because our politics are horrible and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, so because her politics don't work for you and she doesn't help you do what you want to do, you decided you're just going to dismiss this historic moment that women and black women are having right now. That's fucked up. That's just not a good look at all. And so yeah, it's motivated me enough where I keep going back and forth with these idiots. But it's just sad to see how many people are out there like that, and some of these guys are black men. Like it's not like I'm just going up against a bunch of white people, like
Mhm.
it's black folks jumping in there spewing this nonsense, and I'm like, why, why?
Because people suck. That's why.
Basically,
People suck ass.
yeah.
They suck it a lot. And the last 4 years haven't proven that people suck ass on both
Yeah,
sides. I can give a fuck if you're a progressive, if you're an old Democrat from Haiti. I can give a fuck if you a fleet to farm fucking Republican and shit. Unfortunately, people fucking suck. And it's just plain and simple because we gonna find different ways to just fuck around and just tear people down and beat shit to fucking death. And we do this all the time. Nothing is significant anymore. Nothing matters. Even to those people who it's supposed to matter to, it it fucking falls short because it doesn't fall within the lines or the zone of what they feel is right or what they think is the proper choice and everything else. If you didn't want the woman in there, you shouldn't have fucking voted for her. Plain and simple.
Right.
And it comes with bias. This is who he chose. So that's what it is. For whatever
Yeah.
reason, he made the choice in order to do it, whether it was to get the black vote, whether it was to get the Indian vote, whether it was to get the woman vote, whatever the case may be, she there now. And that's what it is. And we either gonna fuck around, we gonna sit here, we gonna harp on things like we always seem to fucking do, or we gonna fuck around and start making some kind of changes. And I think that's part of the byproduct of what fucking Trump has done. We sat back and all we do is we just talk shit all day long, and we don't do anything anymore. We sit back and we allow these motherfuckers to do whatever they want to do to us. We allow them to make whatever laws they want to make, take the money out of your pockets and put it in their buddies' hands. And we sit back and we fuck around and we play hurt. We play the victim all day long. Or we talk shit about somebody who's actually trying to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what, and I'm not even talking about just black. I'm talking about everybody. Period. This is an American problem. This is just what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And then sit up and these will be the same people who will sit up and tell me to go vote. And that's the bullshit that make me want to tell these motherfuckers go kill themselves half the damn time. Don't tell me shit if you over there talking shit about the motherfucker that you told me to go vote for. It's
Mm-hmm.
annoying. It's annoying as hell. It really is.
I mean,
Yeah.
we had our chance to support Willie Wilson if we wanted him as president or vice president. We had our chance, you know. I
Wow.
mean, it seemed to have fell through. So, you know, we didn't do it. So we have Kamala Harris. So there we go.
It is what it is.
I like any dude who got his own party named after him. That's the only
Oh
thing
yeah.
caught my eye when I saw it on that slip. That said Willie Wilson of the Willie Wilson Party. Holy shit. I was like, hey, I almost pushed the button on that shit. Like, I want to give it to him just for that.
I did.
I voted for him. Even though I knew he was going to lose, I voted for him.
Go ahead, Willie, get it.
I appreciate brothers who step out and try to do things independently and get things done. Even though some horrible things came out about him after the election, uh, that made me decide I'm probably not going to vote for him again. But still, I don't regret standing up for a brother who's trying to do his thing.
Oh, just because he voted for Trump and stuff, that's okay. We all have
Oh,
our
that's
Now,
some old
flaws.
stuff now.
so, right?
Oh,
No, no, yeah,
oh,
no. It's beyond that.
oh,
It ain't got nothing to do with Trump. These are personal failures, brother.
okay, I'll go read about that then. Don't worry about it.
You do that. You do that. Nah, Jason, we voted for Willie. We voted for Willie, but Durbin was clearly going to steamroll anyway. Tristan, I'm not sure if the majority of Jamaicans are descended from African ancestry, to be honest with you. That's a good question.
Well, that's what I was gonna make a comment on that too. Is like in the grand, I'm no historian or anything like that, but the Jamaican islands, Haitian islands were all populated by black folks who basically jumped off of those slave ships, correct?
Well, a
I
lot
don't
of
think
those.
that's true.
Well, some of those islands, a lot of those islands had Africans brought to them as well. They tried to. They would.
Right.
They would try to. They would try to enslave the natives that were already there, and then, but they also did
Mm-hmm.
bring some Africans from there, like the islands and all that stuff. Those were the first stop for a lot of the Africans. It was after they stopped
Okay.
there at one of those islands that they would tend to come here. I mean, so sometimes they would come straight to America, but a lot of times there was a pit stop in those islands.
Gotcha.
So, Jamaica witnessed an influx of slaves from Nigeria between 1790 to 1809, as Jamaica and Virginia were the major disembarkation points at the crossing the Atlantic. So, the vast majority of Jamaicans are of African descent, with minorities of Europeans, East Indians, Chinese, Middle Eastern, and others or mixed ancestry. So, yes,
Hmm.
the vast majority of them are of African descent. Interesting. Yeah, they they aren't. Jason's still gonna be in the chat trying to make this point, but uh, I think we've made things clear. Kamala Harris is black. The being the vice president is absolutely historic, and it's something that people should be pausing to take note of, and hopefully it's the start of a trend where we get more women involved in politics and more black women in general who are allowed to rise to higher stations. So definitely something that I appreciate seeing, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. Moving on to the last topic of the day, as it always is on our podcast show, the Bears. And it's the same story now that it's been pretty much every week this season. Nick Foles plays his heart out, does everything in his power to get these people a win and support the team, and the team doesn't do what it needs to do in order to get the job done and come away with a win. The defense played okay this past week, but once again, we have a game where there are no interceptions, there are no forced fumbles, there are no takeaways. I think they got 2 sacks the entire game and maybe 5 quarterback hits. So they weren't even getting consistent pressure against the quarterback. Just this is just not the stuff that high caliber defenses are made of. And then on the offensive side, these people were just not holding on to the ball. I think there are about 4 fumbles, 2 of them that we ended up losing. And so Foles is delivering it to people and trying to move the ball down the field, and drives keep on getting messed up for reasons that really don't have anything to do with him. So it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch, and I see Foles doing everything he can to try to hold things together, and his efforts are not being rewarded. So I'm not sure how you all feel about the game. Hudson, I guess I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, it's clear that Foles isn't the one to fix things. So, at the end of the day, when we think about the defense, it's the defense allowed 17 points in that game, which is, I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, especially against that offense, that was pretty damn good. We're talking about an offense who scored 42 points, I think, twice this season already. And one of those 42-point games was against another pretty good defense. So, I think defense did pretty well. I mean, you can't expect to always get the forced fumbles and interceptions. And if you're waiting to get that each and every week, I mean, that's not going to happen. So for them to only allow 17 points, I think it's pretty doggone good. As far as the offense,
So I want to remind our listeners, Nick Foles was 36 of 52 with 335 yards and 2 touchdowns for the game, and almost a 100 quarterback rating.
At the
There is
end of
no
the game,
there is there is no planet. There's just
garbage
no
time.
planet where that is not an outstanding game. And if we had a quality defense that was keeping the score down, it wouldn't matter at what point in the game he scored those points
maybe
because
if
they
they
were
weren't on the
keeping
field
it
the whole
down low
time.
enough to pull in a win. So this, I don't understand why you all keep making excuses for this defense and then trying to put all the pressure upon Nick Foles.
How
He
much
is
farther
clearly
down than
doing a
17
phenomenal
points
job.
does it need to be?
Other people need to do their part.
How much further
What'd
down
you
than
say?
17 points does it need to be?
It was 24 points.
Yeah, they scored
Titans
7 off
scored
of their
24
defense.
points.
Yeah, their defense scored a touchdown. Our defense allowed
That the offense
17.
gave him. Yeah.
How much more down
No,
do they have to hold you?
no, no. Look. They are responsible for the end score. Period.
But the offense gave him a
We
touchdown.
don't do that, which again was not Nick Foles' fault.
But
That was just not his fault.
how much further down do they need to be? How much do they need to hold them
But
before the offense can be depended on to score some points?
At this point, it's not about them holding down the score more. It's about them actually coming up with turnovers and putting the offense in a position where they have opportunities to capitalize on, which has not been happening.
The
they didn't do
game
Instead,
it.
before they had
no, they have
turnovers.
not. What they've been
They
doing,
didn't do it in this last game.
what speak. What happened in this last game and what has happened multiple times before is they have this bend but don't break philosophy where they get close to the other person's end zone just enough outside of field goal range where they can't hit a field goal, and then they stop them, and then those people kick the ball all the way back to the other side where we're basically right in front of our own goal line, and then Nick Foles is expected to somehow march down the entire field with the scrubs that he has available, and it doesn't happen. This is not going to be what's worked for our offense. And it's not as much as you can look at advancement as much as you want to. This is not what high caliber defenses do. High caliber defenses come up with turnovers and put their offense in a
Mike is
position to
saying you're
succeed.
muted, Samori. Mike is saying you're muted.
I'm sorry. What
It's
I was
good because they
essentially
didn't need to
saying,
hear that dribble anyway.
no, we did. We did. Y'all absolutely did. Y'all absolutely did. What it essentially comes down to is this bend but don't break Chicago defense is allowing people to get all the way to the other side of the field, just outside of field goal range, and then finally stopping them. And then they kick the ball back all the way to right in front of our own end zone. And then Nick Foles is expected to somehow drive the ball all the way across the field in order for us to score. This is not what high caliber defenses are made of. High caliber defenses come up with turnovers to put their offense in a position to be able to succeed. That is not what the Chicago Bears defense has been doing. You can rub your head as much as you like, but the statistics bear out for themselves. Facts are
The
facts.
statistics. Smart.
Yes, sir.
I don't. I'm so confused by what you just said. You just said that the defense has the bend but don't break, allows another offense to get down to a certain point, stops them before they get into field goal range, and because they didn't get a turnover and get the ball back to our 20-yard line, the offense is ineffective. So what you're telling me is the offense is only good in the red zone, which is not a fact
Which
because
is not
statistically
true
they
either.
suck. So what you're telling me is the only way our offense, the only way Nick Foles is effective is if he's close to his own end zone.
What I am telling you is that more than half, 3 out of 5 of our offensive line members are injured. Nick Foles is not getting any protection. It doesn't matter whether he's doing a 2 or 3 or a 5-step drop, he is experiencing pressure as soon as the ball is hiked. When you are in a situation where you know your offensive quarterback is experiencing pressure from the moment the ball is snapped, you cannot ask him to consistently make 90-yard drives down the field in order to be able to score. You need to give him shorter fields and better opportunities so he has a real opportunity to potentially put some points on the board. This is not rocket science, and it's not outlandish. And what is happening is because we have this bend but don't break defense that is letting these people go all the way down the damn field before we finally stop them, and because we're not getting pressure and we're not creating turnovers, it is putting our Nick Foles in a position where there's no way for him to succeed. All he could do is focus on not turning over the ball, which he did last game. and still managed to come up with 300 plus yards and 2 touchdowns. And here we have two self proclaimed Chicago Bears fans bitching about his performance and trying to say that everything's cool with the defense. This does not make any sense. This does not compute, gentlemen. It does not. The defense, the offensive line, and our coaching and the offensive game plan, these are the problems. Nick Foles is fine. He's one of the few bright spots we have on the team. Start looking around him to see the things that need to be changed.
I don't know what game you're watching, Seymour. I don't. Maybe you're watching some old Eagles tape. I don't. I don't see what you're talking about, bro. I completely concur with you when it comes to the offensive plan. The gameplay and the game planning suck. Nat Nagy is not the answer for the Chicago Bears, and I'll be happy when he's fired at the end of the season. Uh, the defense, no. I kind of feel like they're slipping into mediocrity as well. I don't like that. I've never liked that in the don't break shit. But for you to come out and say that the only way that we can show this brightness of Nick Foles is to give him 20 to 30 yards to get to his end zone. So in retrospect, and in that, how do you make the statement and say that he's more effective down there as he is than from down here? If he's getting that amount of pressure, he's not doing shit regardless. I didn't give a fuck where the fuck he is. He doesn't have a chance to do anything anywhere if he's receiving that much pressure.
Listen to what you're saying. He's getting that type of pressure.
And
Really,
he's getting
he
the most
should
pressure.
hold on. He shouldn't be able to do jack shit. He should have no production whatsoever. And yet, still, last game, he had 300 plus yards and 2 touchdowns, which shows even in the absolute worst conditions, the absolute worst circumstances, Nick Foles is figuring out a way to succeed. Listen to what you're saying and put the pieces together,
How
brother.
do you succeed when they lost? How does that work? How do you succeed when you lose? That doesn't even make sense. That's the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard in my life. He threw 2 touchdowns with 2 minutes left in the fucking game. That's not success.
Uh-huh.
And that was after they took their starters out.
Uh-huh.
They were letting motherfucking
Brother.
bums play at that point. So of course they're gonna score a couple fucking touchdowns. Do that shit in the first, second, and third quarter. Not when it's 2 minutes left in the game. That's not success. That's bullshit at that point. I could have used all of that 365 yards and 2 touchdowns when the game started. All that
No.
means is at the end of the game, the Titans said, hey, we got enough where we can fuck all and we can put Joe Bump and shit in the game because we need to let
Prevent
them play.
defense. In prevent defense for their 2 scores.
If you can't do that shit against their starters, when they have to whoop your ass for the first, second, third, and fucking 13 minutes of the fourth quarter, then there's no purpose in what you do at that point because that's not going to win the game.
Brothers, those points and yards that he got were irrelevant
Completely.
because the defense had already let the game get away. It was not Nick Foles' fault that the touchdowns and yardage he was able to eke out was not enough to help them win the game.
It would have been if the
It's
offense
not.
fumbled the ball and
And
get a touchdown.
the offense fumbled the ball repeatedly. Again, that wasn't his fault. You can't blame him for this. Nick Foles is doing the absolute best he can with what the Bears have provided him. Again, 3 out of our 5 offensive linemen are injured. We have no real stud standout, just go out there and get the ball no matter what wide receivers or tight ends. We do not have a defense that is creating pressure or getting takeaways. And yet you all are somehow convinced that Nick Foles is the real issue here. He's not. Nick Foles is a championship quarterback, not just played in the
2
Super
years
Bowl,
ago.
won the Super Bowl, got them
2
to the
years
Super
ago.
Bowl. Super Bowl
A
ring to
whole
go
nother
along
thing.
with it. You don't stop being a Super Bowl champion just because 2 years passed, brother.
Yeah, you
All
do.
right?
Yeah, you do.
No,
That's the
no,
direct definition of it.
no,
You were a Super Bowl champion 2 years ago.
no.
What are you doing
Uh,
now?
uh, bruh, bruh. When's the last time we have had a quarterback who has won a Super Bowl? Has it even been in my lifetime? No. But here you all are trying to piss on this opportunity. We have a quarterback who can bring a championship mindset to the team, who can tell these young Chicago Bears players, this is the way you have to conduct yourself. This is what you have to do to get to that point where you can reach that level and have success on that stage. He can deliver that type of mentorship and knowledge to this team. And y'all are frowning your noses at it.
When
Why are
will
you
he
Y'all
so
do
are
it?
happy with this mentorship that he started? You can go get any damn body. You can have fucking Brian Urlacher come back and talk to him if you want to. You can go and get Mike Singletary. He won a Super Bowl. Let him come talk to him and and gel the team. Go get them.
it's
Why?
not the
It's
same.
not working for Nick. It's not. It's not working.
Bruh,
It's not working.
bruh.
It's not working.
You can see the difference on the
No,
Patriots
you
right
can't.
now.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
Oh, the
You can see
Patriots?
the
How can you
on
give a
the
fuck the
Patriots.
Patriots? How can you fuck about
Can I
the Patriots?
finish?
You now
Can I finish?
now you jumping off to totally other different teams that ain't got nothing to do
No,
with what
I'm
we're
not.
talking about right now. You
This is all the same situation. It's all the same situation. I'm talking about championship culture and championship mindset. You're saying even if Nick Foles does bring that, we could just have some guys come in and speak every so often and get the same impact. It doesn't work that way. The Patriots have lost Tom Brady, who was their core championship mindset. He was the quarterback going out there every day, making sure that people understood the game plan and how they were supposed to conduct themselves. They've lost that now, and it shows. It shows. It's not the same team. Nick Foles is trying to establish that same type of culture in Chicago, and these things take time. It didn't happen in Brady's first year. Even though they won that Super Bowl, that was more about Belichick than Brady. It took him time to really establish that brand and become that guy who could establish a championship culture no matter where he went. Nick Foles is with Chicago Bears right now trying to do that, trying to teach us how to become a Super Bowl caliber team and hopefully, on top of that, a dynasty. And instead of embracing the opportunity and the teachings that he's trying to share and saying we need to put some pieces around this man to get our team to the spot where we can really take advantage of his Super Bowl pedigree, y'all are sitting up complaining and whining about a bunch of nonsense that has nothing to do with him, but at the same time trying to blame him for it. It doesn't make any sense, brothers.
so now you want to
That doesn't
build
make
a
any
team
sense.
around Nick Foles? Is that what you're saying?
I want to build a team around a championship mindset and culture. And right now, Nick Foles is the only quarterback available that can do that for us. Now, if another quarterback comes along who has also proven that he can have success at the Super Bowl, we would, of course, have to consider that person.
Can I ask a question? And I know I keep cutting you off, Hudson. I apologize. I just want to get this out. So you feel that anybody who's won a Super Bowl knows or can teach or can exude a championship culture. Is that what you're saying? Now the culture that where he won the championship didn't come from his coach at the time. It came from him. Because he could have just been a part of the process.
So I don't believe he could be just any position player on there, but he was the quarterback. The quarterback is the core of the offense. He is the leader. He is the one who sets the tone, sets the culture, and is expected to connect with everybody that's on that field. So if the quarterback is someone who is able to excel and somehow win a Super Bowl, yes, I believe they have a firm understanding of the culture and pedigree that's necessary to succeed at that level. And Nick Foles has proven he's one of those guys. Absolutely. And we've already had 2 weeks ago, I read it out on this very podcast, professional columnists in Chicago newspapers talking about that Super Bowl pedigree, talking about how much credibility it's given him in that locker room, talking about how much his teammates appreciate his presence and his communication. All of these things matter. They matter a great deal. And there's a very, very limited pool of quarterbacks who could provide that same mix, those same talents that Nick Foles provides for us.
So Mike Glennon, we spent all that money on, got nothing. Trubisky, we gave up all those draft picks, got nothing. Nick Foles, we gave up draft pick and 21 million, and we have nothing right now. So essentially, this should be Ryan Pace's and Matt Nagy's should be done. And once they're done, Nick Foles is done too. Well, Nick Foles and Trubisky, I don't see them lasting past this season either. I think it's a total overhaul, especially offensively after this year. And we know we've wasted another great defense. We've wasted it again. And
It's a whole rebuild.
we're a total rebuild next year, and that sucks
Completely.
to have to be at there again. Um, but the question is, will they get rid of Ryan Pace and Nagy, or are they going to
Yep.
try some shell game where you know it's Nagy's play calling has been, there's micromanagement going on somewhere, and I don't know who's doing it. I don't know if it could be very easily be Ryan Pace or someone telling Nagy you need to call those plays and not letting them. Stuff like that happens before, or is it Nagy pushing that he's got to call it? I don't know, but I can't picture that, I wouldn't want to share the responsibility at some point if I keep calling the plays and we keep losing. I would think at some point I would want to, let's change this up. I need to have more of my eyes on the field and not be calling plays, nose in a playbook. So I'm waiting for that to happen. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Trubisky, I don't believe his shoulder's hurt. I just believe that between him and his agent, they probably decided, yeah, you don't need to play anymore. Now, did he get a sore shoulder after the hit? Maybe. I don't think it's hurt. I think between him and his agent, they decided, look, you got a chance to still be a starter somewhere else. So you best go ahead and sit out the majority of this season. So I'm not sure we're going to see
Because they're going
Trubisky
to try
back
and
on
put
that.
you back in.
Well, yeah, because Nagy will call one of them dumbass plays that he'll put Trubisky out there, and the ball's going to go to him. It's going to be so predictable, and everyone's going to jump on top of him. So if I was Trubisky, no, I would not want to. Yeah, my shoulders hurt, so I don't know if we'll see him on that sideline again.
Actually, I pretty much see Nick Foles getting murdered out there, quite honestly. And that's what's and he's already shown that he's fucking injury prone. So yeah, this horrible ass
I don't know
offensive
about
line.
injury prone. He's immobile. He's not injury prone.
Yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
Last year with Jacksonville and shit, he broke his damn clavicle and shit. Second or third play of the first game of the season.
And lost his
How
starting
long has he
spot
been in the NFL? How
since
long has he been in the NFL?
same years
What,
as
just
Cam
about
Newton, right?
6-7 years?
Yeah.
So it's been 7 years and 2 injuries. That doesn't mean you're injury prone.
There's several injuries. He had injury when he got on with the Eagles. That's why he lost his starting spot in the Eagles that first time he was out there with the Eagles. Then he went to St. Louis and shit and got beat out by, I think it was fucking, I don't know, he didn't get beat out. He got hurt in St. Louis. And whoever it was that backed him up took over his spot. I can't remember who it was at this point in time. Then he ended up in Kansas City, which he was sitting behind Alex Smith and I forget who the other cat was, but he wasn't there at the time. Holmes, not Patrick Holmes. He wasn't there yet. He wasn't there when he came in, but he just basically sat on the sideline. Then he went and he was like bagging groceries for a minute, and then he got called back to the Eagles, where he sat on the
He wasn't
sideline
bagging groceries.
until Michael Vick got hurt, and he got back in for a little bit. And then Carson Wentz came, and Carson Wentz got hurt, and he got in for a little bit and got him the Super Bowl.
Earned him a Super Bowl.
Got him a Super Bowl. He earned shit.
Earned him a Super Bowl.
He earned, only thing he did good and whatnot is he picked the right agent that got him back on the team and whatnot and put him on a Super Bowl team. That was it. They was already on their way to the Super Bowl when he stepped in. All he had to do was not fuck up. That's it. That's all he had to do. All he had to do was just not throw it to Jeffries. He catches everything. Okay, cool. No problem. I can do that. You got a great offensive line in front of me? Great. Appreciate it. I'm going to throw this ball all over the place. No problem. Earned nothing. He earned a great agent and paid him good money to get him back on that team, which got him a Super Bowl.
Now,
I'm not a Nick Foles fan like that, so I'm not going to try to defend his past record.
I can't tell. I cannot tell.
I'm a big fan of what he does for the Chicago Bears. I'm not a fan of Nick Foles overall. I didn't care about him before he came here.
Whenever he starts doing it, please let me know.
He's already started. Open your eyes.
I can't anymore. I'm tired of watching him lose.
We have three or five of our offensive linemen are injured. We don't have no real go-getter wide receivers, and this man still has an 100 quarterback rating with over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
100 quarterback rate? Where you see that at? When has he ever had 100 quarterback rating since he started playing for us? He ain't never been at 100.
This last game, he was at like 98.5, bro.
He was not.
Yes, he was.
Oh, let me pull these damn stats out right now. Hell to the no. 100 quarterback rate. Hold on, man.
Hey. Go ahead.
Because 36 or 52 is not 100. I'm not real good at math, but I know that's not 100. Thank you. Oh, Lord. Some more. I think you do this on purpose, though. I really do.
I don't, man. He completed 70% of his passes, had 300 plus yards, and had 2 touchdowns. It is what it is, brother. That is an outstanding game. By any stretch of the imagination, that is an outstanding game.
At the end of the game?
If any other quarterback had done this around the league, y'all would not be blaming that quarterback for the loss of that team. But because it's Nick Foles on the Bears, y'all want to point fingers because it seems like y'all never want to hold our defense accountable. Y'all want to pretend that we have this fantastic defense that compares to past great defenses in the Chicago Bears legacy.
We watched the Bears game. That's the problem. We didn't watch the other games to see if they got their stuff in garbage time either. There's a thing called garbage time. And when you get in garbage time, that means it didn't really matter. Okay? They played their prevent defense so that they could let the Bears take time off the clock. That's all they did. And hence he got his 300 yards. So it's wonderful to have great individual stats, but when you lose the game, you lose. That's just it. He lost.
Wow, brother. You know what? We're going to agree to disagree. Is there anything else we need to talk about regarding this subject before I close things out?
Oh, he's been in the league for 9 years. Excuse me.
Now, what I will
say, which
means
he's not injury prone.
Now, what I will say is, now Ryan Tannehill. Now he. That was an awesome game. He's got some awesome stats right there. His touchdown to interception ratio, phenomenal. And I want to add, while he was getting hit, he threw an absolute perfect pass for a touchdown. And it honestly could not have been defended any better. I saw that defense. I was like, wow, he made the absolute perfect throw. Oh, I wish. But I digress. we don't have him. He's on Tennessee. So,
And therein lies the problem. No respect for the people who have actually decided to come to Chicago and make our situation better. Instead, you start looking around at a bunch of things that you don't have and people who don't give a damn about you or your city or your team and wishing somehow that they were on your team. which is absolutely ridiculous. You go to war with the army that you have, and you appreciate and respect the army that you have for what it is that they're able
You
to
had no
deliver.
respect for Mitch Trubisky. And in fact, you were
Because
looking
he
for
wasn't
Cam
part of my
Newton.
army.
You were looking
Nick
for Cam
Foles
Newton.
was the army even from the bench.
You
No,
you
I
were
knew they
looking for
wouldn't go to
Cam
get Cam
Newton.
Newton. Come on now,
But you wanted him.
the Bears are not going to have a black cat quarterback as their lead while them owners are in there.
But you wanted him. You know. And he wasn't a part of the army. You
First of all, I
wanted him.
need you not to speak to me in that soft crew. That's first and
I'm
foremost.
just
We
saying.
can't have a discussion this way, bro. I
Mitch
need you to
Trubisky.
stop tilting your head as well. I need you to raise your head up and talk in a normal tone
Mitch Trubisky
because we
was a
can't do
part of the
this.
army. He was part of the Bears team. You didn't respect him. I mean, you know, and it's okay. A lot of people didn't, you know.
You loved him in 2018. That's a damn sure. That was 2 years ago.
But
He's right.
2 years ago, we also knew that there were flaws, and we weren't blind to it. We also we should have saw then that offensive line. We didn't really think about it then because Trubisky could run all over the field, and we had Tariq Cohen running all over the field. So we didn't really think about it then. But that offensive line wasn't good then because if you remember, who was our other quarterback? Jordan Howard. He could not run the ball for nothing. They could never get an effective run game with Jordan Howard. So that offensive line was not good then.
Foles is already pretty solid now. Imagine how much better he'd be with Cohen and able to use that as a weapon. Everything he's doing right now, he's doing it without even having Cohen available to him.
They wouldn't use him.
And all of y'all have is complaints.
They wouldn't use him if they had him. Shit. Fucking Bears suck right now. They wouldn't use him if they had him. I'm glad they don't have him. I'm glad he gets to sit back and chill out for the rest of the season and spend some of his money. He don't need to be a part of this bullshit.
Foles would have figured it out. Foles would be using Cohen, no doubt.
His agent probably sat him down too. Probably like, right. Yeah, you just sit down. You got some opportunities next year somewhere else.
It ain't looking good, bro. You know what? Spend a little bit of your money.
You know what? We just gonna agree to disagree about all of this because y'all are just acting crazy. All right, and I'm gonna let you all have this.
How many more games you need, Samori?
Huh? How many more games?
How many more games you need before you understand that Foles just ain't the guy? What do you need?
It's not just about the games. It's about Foles' performance during the games. If he's having awful performances where it's clear, they'd be doing so much better with another quarterback, then, of course, I'll relent and say, hey, they need to replace him so that the team can be doing better. But the fact of the matter is, for these past 2 to 3 games where we've been losing, Foles has not been the reason we were losing. The defense and the offensive line are not doing their part to put the Bears in a position to win.
Okay,
I'm not going to just blame Foles automatically.
What do you need from the defense and the offensive line? What do you need from them?
I need the offensive line to allow this man to do a full 5-step drop where he can step back for 5 steps, set himself, and then throw those bombs that we need to really make progress down the field. I need the defense to actually get pressure against the quarterback instead of coming up with 1 or 2 sacks magically during the game and not getting any real consistent pressure. And then I actually need them to come up with turnovers to put the Bears in a quality position to be able to score. That's what I need from both sides. If I get that, I'm good. If I get that, and then Foles is throwing a bunch of interceptions and we're not able to take advantage and we don't win, that's on Foles. We can absolutely have that conversation. But that has not happened yet. Instead, what's happened is offensive line doesn't do its part. Defensive line is doing bare minimum. And then everybody expects Foles to be Superman. And when he's not, they say, well, here he sucks. The legacy of horrible Bears quarterbacks, blah, blah, blah. It's not fair. And it's not true.
So how long before you cut Nick Foles out and sitting down and talking to the offensive line and gelling and pushing his championship mentality on them. When do you see that it doesn't work? You get
Well,
a
no,
couple more weeks to talk to him, sit down and gel, have some steak.
but the problem the problem is, look, again, you go back to the Patriots model, right? Which is to me the ultimate in trying to establish that championship mindset. They were consistent about trying to reach out to veterans and get more veterans on the team. They didn't look for youth. They didn't get the youngest players. They got guys who already knew what they were doing. They got guys who were already comfortable with their role in the NFL. We got a bunch of guys who barely even feel like they're actually starters, who didn't even believe that they'd be getting much playing time this year. So, how do you establish championship caliber mentality in someone who barely even sees themselves as a professional yet, who barely even sees themselves as capable of starting, much less playing at a championship caliber level? So Nick Foles has a monumental task in front of him, and it is taking time. It is taking time to try to establish that culture and get it implemented throughout the team. But that does not mean he's not the right guy to do it. And that doesn't mean that it won't happen. That just means that we have to be a little bit more patient with the process it takes to get a bunch of people who, again, didn't even know that they would be starting and get them to the point that they truly believe that they are championship caliber football players.
You you talking about the dudes who play in the National Football League? You talking
Yes,
about the dudes who play for the Chicago Bears
yes,
are sitting and they never had an idea. They never even considered that they need to be on the field. The guys who made a national football team,
uh huh.
a National Football League team. You do know how hard it is to get into the NFL.
You do realize that they were brought onto the team as backups and backups who were barely players. That, you know, the way y'all always call Nick Foles a backup and say he's a backup quarterback, that he's not supposed to even be starting, even though in reality, he's a starting quarterback and a Super Bowl starting quarterback at that. Well, he's at a whole nother plane than these guys who are shocked that they're even on the field right now. And this is just the way it is.
But he was
We all,
but he was a
they
backup when
yes,
he won the Super
they,
Bowl.
they
He
are,
was a
yes,
backup. How do you
they,
make that statement? He was a backup who won the Super Bowl. So he didn't expect to see the field. And the only reason he got on the field was because the quarterback ahead of him, who was the starter, got hurt.
this is not
So
true.
why wouldn't that be part of the mentality that he's teaching these people who apparently had no idea they were even going to play? It's a 53-man roster. It's only 11 people on the field at a time. So they had to think they was at least going to get on the field. So
It's not the same at all.
if he was a backup who won a championship, shouldn't that be part of the teachings that he's teaching these guys who apparently had no idea they were even going to play?
No, because the fact of the matter is he had already been in the league for nine. You can look at me crazy all you want to. The fact of the matter is he is a 9-year vet.
Who's been
He
a career
already knew
backup?
he already knew before he got to the Eagles that he was fully capable of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. No question. No question in his mind.
Please,
No question that he was fully capable of doing the job,
please
which is
explain
confidence, which is confidence that this Bears offensive line does not have, and their lack of confidence is showing as reality every week on the field. Meanwhile, when Nick Foles was given the opportunity to be a starting quarterback, he immediately proved that his confidence was correct by winning a Super Bowl championship. Also, once again, note for all the fans, it wasn't like they got him in right before the Super Bowl and he just played in the Super Bowl and won it. Got Wentz went down during the season. Foles popped in, went through the whole playoffs, made things happen, and then won the Super Bowl on top of that. All right.
Please let me read
So
this.
his, his legacy is chiseled in stone.
Please,
All right.
please let
And
me read this.
it does not translate to what these kids on our offensive line are going through right now.
Nick
They are
Foles,
petrified and they're not ready for the main stage.
Nick
But they
Foles,
have to dance on it. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Nick Foles is a career backup since 2012. Started final 6 games of the season, didn't go to the playoffs. 2013 started the final 10 games of the season. In 2014, posted a 6-2 record. It doesn't say whether he started or not, but suffered a broken collarbone, which ended his season. 2015 went to the Rams, started in 11 games. In 2016, he went to the Chiefs, played in 3 games, went back to the Eagles, started the final 3 games of the regular season where he went 2-1, ran through the playoffs and won a Super Bowl. 2018, the year after he won the Super Bowl, started the final 5 games of the regular season. 2019 Jaguars started in 4 games on the season. He is now with the Bears. He is a career backup. Career backup is what he's been for 9 years. How does that not translate to these kids who you say have no idea they was even gonna play? Why wouldn't
Mhm.
that even be an inspiration for them? I can see you pushing that narrative a whole lot harder. Hey, that boy he been a backup for 9 years. Look at him. He a Super Bowl champion because of it. He should be
Look here,
bringing these
we
guys up off of the bench with him.
Jason. Here's what we got to consider: Nick Foles might be Tanya Harding some of these quarterbacks. I mean, it seems like every year his ass gets the
Wow.
only
Boy,
places where he actually
Wow.
came to be a starter are places who are dumb enough and had no other options but to get him, like the Bears, who invested in Mike Glennon and Trubisky in the first place. Jacksonville had nothing going for him, and he still got beat out. You know,
Wow. You said Tanya Harding.
He probably did.
That's
We got to
crazy.
consider he's bad luck wherever he goes. It's not
That's
like the starting
crazy.
quarterback keep getting hurt wherever he at.
That's the skater, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who
yeah,
sabotaged her. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
crack Nancy Harrigan, or I forget what her name was. Nancy, whatever her name was, cracked her knee wide open, Jack.
Right. She had a boyfriend do it.
Oh
Ridiculous.
yeah, Nick
Okay.
Foles had
So
his
first and
boyfriend do
foremost,
it. Got it. Yep. I mean,
wow. Wow.
however it works.
Wow. Wow. Brothers, I need y'all to be more appreciative towards the people who come to Chicago and try to make things better. Jason, you're a very talented brother, very funny, very passionate, great at reading statistics. You can take boring statistics somehow, make them funny and entertaining, but it doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't mean that you're telling the people the truth. I need you not to be trying to delude our listeners, brother. All
Never have
right.
I heard nothing out of I read have I seen him. He started all 16 games. Did you hear that? And out of 9 years, did you hear me say that at all? Because it's 16 games for the season. Not one of these teams, 16 games, not including the one he's on now. Career backup.
Brother, he's a Super Bowl championship quarterback.
Backup.
Mo- there is no such thing.
There is.
If you
There is.
that you can win every playoff game and then walk into that Super Bowl and win that Super Bowl, you are a starting caliber quarterback.
If you
Period.
if you can prove to be the
Period.
backup for the starting quarterback who got hurt of a championship team, yeah, there you go. Yep,
Brother.
happens all the time.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Happened to Jeff
How
Hostetler.
many times does the main quarterback get injured and then the backup takes over and he takes them all the way to the championship? That does not happen all the time. It doesn't.
Who was it? Jeff
And
Hostetler
in
did
fact,
it. Who else? It made me a minute to find a couple of these names. I know Jeff Hostetler.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know Jeff Hostetler, and I can almost guarantee you, none of our regular listeners know him either. I'll put money on that.
Anybody who ever saw
Thank you.
the New York Giants in the first Buffalo Bills Super Bowl, Jeff Hostetler
Was I even alive? You reaching back to the 70s, bro, and saying this is something that happens all the time?
I'm just saying he was a backup and he won a Super Bowl.
See, this is what I'm talking about, listeners. All right, he gives this information so passionately that some of y'all don't realize when he's trying to delude you. I'm over here telling you the truth. We have a Super Bowl quarterback at center. We need to figure out how to put the proper pieces around him so that we can succeed and make it to the Super Bowl. And that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. All right. I want to thank all of you for joining us here at SJH Mancave. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Once again, if you are a black business owner and would like to get featured as our business of the week, please make sure to send an email to info@sjhmancave.com. Any of our listeners,
we still got to put all the
pieces
pieces around them.
Remember that you can hear this and other episodes on all your major podcast platforms. We are also on YouTube at SJH Mancave. Once you're there, please hit that subscribe button, like, and leave a comment. You can also like, share, and follow us on Facebook at SJH Podcast Family. I would like to thank my two fellow podcasters, Jason and Hudson, for somewhat keeping it real. Until next time, this is your host, Sabori, signing off.